Imagine yourself as a miner on this dry mountain Bolivia known as Cerro Rico, or the Rich Hill. This region has been mined continuously for over 500 years since the advent of Spanish colonization of the area. An estimated 8 million people died in these mines from occupational injuries and diseases during these past 5 centuries. With such a terrible legacy of mining's impact on the community, it is not surprising that communities around South America and elsewhere feel threatened by mining. And that often leads to conflict. Our aim in this course is to consider ways of mitigating such conflicts, while still fostering positive social change. First of all, it is important to recognize that conflict itself can also play a constructive role. We would have no social progress if there was complete cooperation and agreement between entrenched powers. The key is to harness the positive aspects of conflict or constructive confrontation while preventing violence and the negative aspects of entrenched acrimony. Here is a model which shows how an interaction between two parties can have 3 different outcomes. First, we could pretend to have fake peace or harmony while still harboring resentment. This could also be due to the fear factor that can occur when there's difference between power dynamics. Second, we could have a destructive or violent conflict whereby one side refuses to compromise on any matter, and this leads to division. Third, we could have a constructive confrontation around key issues and try to work through the conflict in a constructive way so we can get positive social change but also build consensus towards an agreement. Natural resource conflicts provide specific opportunities towards achieving this goal. And mineral conflicts are an example of such natural resource conflicts. So let us define natural resource conflicts more explicitly. The definition of such conflicts is shown here. Note that there are 2 key attributes of these conflicts. They can involve concerns about environmental quality of a resource and also the actual quantity of the resource. However, quality and quantity can be linked. For example, we have plenty of water on the earth, but most of it is saline, and hence the actual available water for drinking is limited by the quality of the water that is available. Now, conflict analysis can be approached from many different disciplines. Biologists like Jane Goodall have studied conflict in chimpanzee societies and developed an entirely new field of research called ethology that studies conflict. Mathematicians have developed an entire field to understand the behavior of humans through repeated observations of their conduct under conditions of uncertainty and variability in trust. This is called game theory. Computer scientists have developed advanced analytical methods specifically that assist in conflict resolution and management decision-making. This branch of computer science is called operations research. Civil engineers use models from operations research in their toolkit of what is called multiple criteria decision analysis. Lawyers have recognized their own limitations of fighting out disputes in courts and have developed the field of alternative dispute resolution, or ADR, which also involves consensus-building processes. Business and management schools approach the study of conflict from the lens of negotiations and contracts. Sociologists approach conflict resolution from the perspective of organizational behavior. And political scientists have established a branch of their discipline called peace research to consider conflict resolution analysis. Suffice it to say, no matter what your area or field of interest, there are likely to be some connections and contributions to the field of environmental conflict resolution. Some simple observations that cross all disciplinary studies of conflict have to do with value and how it is created and claimed. Consider a simple diagram such as this one, taken from a leading negotiation textbook about how transactions between a buyer and a seller could lead to a resolution in which value is created and claimed. The functional line represents the maximum possible value within a given context that could be obtained within parameters set forth in the negotiation. This is often referred to as Pareto optimal solutions, named after the Italian economist who applied a similar analysis to mainstream economic efficiency research. It is possible that by combining issues or building alliances, we could expand the frontier outwards, thereby creating value for both sides. Within the confines of the frontier, both buyer and seller could arrive at a deal, but it would not be the one that creates most value for both sides. The goal of any good conflict resolution process, therefore, should be to reach that outer frontier limit. Where we then move along the frontier represents how value is claimed once it has been created. Claiming value is highly dependent on the realization of differentiated preferences that each side may have. Consider, for example, an orange, which you have to divide between two sides. An inefficient way of claiming value would be simply to cut the orange in half without asking the simple question of each party, what will you do with this orange? It is possible that one party may want to use the orange for making juice and the other for making marmalade. In this case, the best way to claim value would be to peel the orange and to give the pulp to the party that needs it for the orange juice and the peel to the marmalade party. So to sum it up and to use another food metaphor, good negotiation skills are about expanding the pizza pie based on the various interests, thereby creating value and then cutting up the pie and claiming value based on preferential toppings and needs. Once we reach a cooperative outcome in a negotiation, the next question to ask is, how can we sustain this cooperation? Research by political scientist Robert Axelrod has provided us with some key guiding principles in this regard based on repeated experiments on cooperative behavior which he conducted with his students. His golden rules can be summed up into these 4 lessons. First, Axelrod found that the longer the time horizon for agreements, the greater the chance of cooperation. He called this the shadow of the future. In economics, this translates into providing greater value to the future benefits by using a reduced discount rate, so that future benefits are better valued by the accounting systems. Second, he found that the more often parties meet and exchange information and ideas, the greater the chance of cooperation. This finding provides good empirical backing for having more regular meetings of parties and conferences that generate cooperative capital. Third, the quality of information provided by each party about their actions, even if the full process is not transparent, gives much greater cooperative outcomes. In environmental conflicts, peer-reviewed scientific information provided by each party can be an equalizing element in this regard. Finally, if there is a variation in a particular contract or agreement, the speed with which we get feedback about the change in conduct plays an important role in the cooperation being sustained. Nowadays, mobile technologies can provide instantaneous information transmission about changes in particular terms of an agreement or if there has been a violation of terms, for example, due to an environmental accident. Monitoring technology at mine sites can easily transmit such information to communities to ensure community safety and also to sustain trust. At the end of the day, environmental conflict resolution is not an end point, but a continuous process that needs to be sustained through engagement. We all need to remember that mining can indeed be immensely disruptive to communities, but if they are able to feel empowered in negotiating effective mitigation measures of impacts and clearly valued benefits, destructive conflict can be mitigated. The parable of places like Cerro Rico shows us that community resistance to mining has led to some positive changes in the performance of the sector. The journey is, however, not complete. Benefits for miners in such locations are still not fully realized. Thus, constructive confrontation to create greater value is needed. At the same time, negotiating more effective means of claiming value for all sides through good research and knowledge sharing is essential.